to be able to do government policies.
Honorable Ahmed, in your answer, you brought out something very important. Okay. You brought out the issue of DACF deductions as source. That is a great worry to the district assemblies. And so I think that as a chief whip, you have first-hand information of these challenges. So I want you to take the opportunity to tell us what you will do to address it.
Mr. Chairman, the first position is to work together with Parliament, because the approval for the formula for the disbursement of common fund is done by Parliament through a committee of the whole. And thankfully, the person going to be responsible for finance is a former leader of this House who used to champion the releases together with me. And your good self. So this is something that man leaders, including you, used to do. And we are going to deepen it.
Honorable Sefua, do you have any follow-up?
Yes. Well, unfortunately, I didn't get the answer that I wanted to get from my honorable friend, the nominee. Honorable Ahmed, you cannot use an act of parliament, as it were, to meddle a constitutional provision. My question was, there are two constitutional provisions. Those constitutional provisions is determining how one appointment will have to be done. Article 17.
Honorable Asofua, you asked the question. The honorable member has given an answer. That is the honest opinion, he said. So that's why I asked you, do you have a follow-up?
So, no,
if you don't have a follow-up, then
I wanted to pick his opinion about if there is an opportunity for him that has been given to him by His Excellency the President as to how such an appointment will have to be done. My question to him is he going to advise the President to take the route of Article 70 or take the route of Article 252? Or he is going to also prefer to the President that, okay, now that there's a constitutional review committee, you think that even after the appointment, this is the position that I want to take. So, I mean, I just want to take his opinion in the event that he's asked as to how this appointment will have to be done, taking into consideration the two constitutional provisions as far as Article 70 and 252 is concerned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my answer was that my opinion was sought, and I gave my opinion. The question my very good brother is asking is the position of the law. But like he has rightly answered, I answered by saying that together with Parliament, we are going to amend the necessary laws. And then amending the necessary laws, it is not the minister alone who is going to do it. Truly, there's a constitutional review committee, like you have rightly said, and which is going to deal with the Constitution. But I just wanted it to be made clear that there have been implementation challenges. And those implementation challenges must be addressed. Addressing them will be amendment to the various laws regulating the appointment and the functions of the administrator for this Assembly Common Fund. So I take it on board.
Right.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sefua. It's not the turn of
Honorable. I have other questions. I'm supposed to have 3 questions.
Well, I asked you, and when you were starting, I'll give you a chance. I'll give.
My second question to the nominee is, with respect to election of MMDCs, I just want to pick your thought on that. All over the world, there seemed to be a certain approval or some amount of unanimity as to election of MMDs. In Ghana, we don't have it that way. Mr. Chairman, can you protect me? I'm receiving bows from all over the table.
Please let the honorable member ask his question.
And so, 1, do you agree to the fact that we should allow MMDCs to be elected? And secondly, does it have to be done on partisan basis? These are the questions I want to ask.
Mr. Chairman, one, the first question, I do agree that MMDCs must be elected. The second question is, I disagree that it must be done on partisan basis. And that is the bone of contention between the two sides. We said MMDCs must be elected on non-partisan basis. And you said they must be elected on partisan basis. We sold these two views to Ghanaians. We had 184, you had 88. It means Ghanaians totally agree with election of MMDCs on non-partisan basis. And I believe that if there's any time that this should be done, it should be now.
Thank you, Honorable Safa. It's now the turn of Honorable Rita Odelosewa, MP for La Dadikopon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to congratulate my leader on his nomination by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama. Honorable Leader, we are aware that MMDAs are supposed to generate revenue to be able to boost the local economy. And as a former MCE, one thing that happens mostly is that there are a lot of leakages in revenue mobilization. And I want to find out from you, how do you intend to work with the MMDAs to ensure that there will be blockage of leakages of revenue mobilization? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in the first place, we are all moving towards digitization of or automation of revenue generation channels. And therefore, the first solution will be to digitize all revenue generation or revenue collection points at the MMDAs. Two, Mr. Chairman, we must deliver open and accountable governance, where chiefs, opinion leaders, and people residing in the particular jurisdiction of a district assembly will be aware of, one, revenues generated from their electoral areas, two, revenue generated from their district assemblies, three, how those revenues have been applied to the various contracts that have been awarded. If we practice a bit of accountability, Mr. Chairman, I think it will go a long way to improve upon the revenue generation of the MMDAs. It should not be a one-man job. It must be a participatory service in nature.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable Leader, I want to find out from you if you will consider recruiting more revenue collectors to support in revenue mobilization. I speak as a typical example, citing my municipality, the Adikotopon. It's a big place, and I believe the revenue collectors there are not enough to be able to go around to collect the revenue to be used by the assembly.
Mr. Chairman, having been a long-standing member of the local government committee, there was a particular exercise where we embarked upon a field work to go to the various MMDAs and identify how much IGF, internally generated fund, they've been collecting annually. Mr. Chairman, it will surprise you. The staff, the amount spent on the revenue staff is more than the amount that is used to pay them. Most of the assemblies. And this was one of our fundings. And therefore, a lot of recommendations were given. And I think the report was taken on the floor of Parliament, and the records are there. So the issue goes beyond just recruitment. Secondly, in that report, we suggested that we employ a number of national service personnel as seated in Accra, some as receptionists, and their services are being needed in most of the MMDAs to collect revenue. So, Mr. Chairman, beyond waiting to get financial clearance from the Minister of Finance to employ revenue collectors, we may have to visit the side of going to the National Service Secretariat, asking for national service personnel, and giving them to the various MMDAs, charging them with the responsibility that those who will be so hardworking to be able to collect more revenue to the assembly during their national service time may be recommended for recruitment into this area of revenue collection. If those measures are taken, Mr. Chairman, I think it will help to improve upon the revenue collection of the various assemblies. Because once you employ the person and tell him that you are a full-time revenue collector, the person goes and become, excuse me to say, I don't want to use the word lazy, refuse to work as hard as the commission collectors. And this is the more reason why we must engage national service persons, charge them with responsibility, motivate them with the opportunity to be retained. In that regard, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I believe will help solve the problem.
Still have the last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Leader, my last one is, I believe in your capabilities, and I know you are going to work well as the Minister Designate for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. And I trust that you are going to work with our chiefs and religious bodies to ensure that we continue to enjoy the peace that we are enjoying. And I believe that with the chieftaincy institution, you are going to keep an eye there, and whoever will represent you on that front will give you proper reports so that wherever there are issues, we'll be able to resolve them. On this note, I want to congratulate you again, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, my good sister, Honorable Rita Odolesoa.
Thank you. It's now the turn of Honorable Patrick Yaoboama.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and congratulations to my good friend and brother, and Eddie Obiensru.
Anyhow, thank you, my good brother.
Thank you. Ahmed, I can see a lot of prominent chiefs behind you. And your portfolio includes that of the chieftaincy, our revered chieftaincy institution, which is captured under Chapter 20 of our Constitution, 22. We have witnessed a lot of chieftaincy disputes in this country. Some resolved, some unresolved. Even if you look at the Chieftaincy Act of 1970, provisions were made for the traditional houses to settle disputes. Same repeated under the 2008 Act. The same definition for who a chief is retained. Asante and other paramount chiefs, their designations and categorizations are there. If you go to the traditional judicial councils, I don't know if you have your Chieftaincy Act with you. Don't worry, I'll assist you. But from section 22 to 30, deals with the jurisdictions of the various houses of chiefs and judicial committees and their roles. The chiefs they don't earn any income. Even their lands, there are issues with other neighbors. Investors do have issues with them. They go and do all sorts of things there. The capacity of the judicial councils to even deal with matters affecting the institution down there, to the extent that they can't even afford the services of lawyers to handle matters for them. Because for them to be able to hire the services of lawyers to deal with issues relating to their paramountcies or schemes requires the services of very good lawyers to handle same. Some ought to be on retainer. How are you going to use your office to resource the various judicial councils to be able to recruit the right lawyers to deal with some of the matters affecting chieftaincy in this country? Because their positions are recognized by the Constitution and also the Chieftaincy Act. Thank you.
Thank you, my very good brother. This is a very sensitive This is a very sensitive area, but as you have asked, it was one of the concerns of the chiefs. In the first place, our distinguished and revered chiefs earn their place by birth. And therefore, as one of our recommendations or suggestions, thank God the chieftaincy ministry is now being merged, it's now taking its rightful position with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. What we are going to do is to consider, liaise with whoever becomes the Attorney General, and look at how best the Attorney General, together with our revered chiefs, can work together to improve upon the conditions of the lawyers of the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. With that, if the conditions appointment is being done by the Attorney General, the lawyers who are working at the Chieftaincy Judicial Committee and these things will have some sigh of relief, because they will be entitled to the conditions of service of the lawyers in the Ministry of Attorney General, the Attorney General Ministry. In that way, Mr. Chairman, I believe it will help to retain good and qualified lawyers to support our chiefs. 2.
2025 is accordingly recommended. We propose that the House immediately reconvenes into a joint caucus meeting to discuss matters of urgent importance to the House today, before we continue immediately after the Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, we also recommend that on Wednesday, 22nd January 2025, we'll present some papers to the House and motions will be taken. Same as Thursday and Friday. Mr. Speaker, together with the business statement, we have also submitted the proposed calendar for the House for the year 2025. And in it, we are proposing that Parliament will be working for 33 weeks for this year. The first meeting we expect to work for 12 weeks. The second meeting we expect to work for 33 weeks in the chamber and 20 weeks in Parliament, in our constituencies. Sometimes we call it recess, but I don't think it's a recess, because we don't have recess. We go to our constituencies and do the work. Speaker, we expect that the first meeting, as we began on the 7th of January 2025, will come to an end on the 28th of March 2025. That will mean that we'll work for 12 weeks. and then we'll be able to move into our constituencies from 1st April to the 9th of May, 1st April 2025 to 9th of May 2025 for another 6 weeks. We've also programmed that the second meeting will begin on Tuesday, 13th May 2025 and ends on the 25th of August 2025. This will mean that we'll be able to have 11 more weeks for recess, same as the third meeting, which is also accordingly advertised. Speaker, this is the business statement, and I accordingly ask for comment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the business statement for the second week is duly presented by the chairman of the committee. It is now for members' comment. Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to comment on the statement presented by the majority leader. Mr. Speaker, he tells us in the business statement, paragraph 2B, he tells us that in the course of the week, he expects some ministers to come and make statements on government policy. So, in other words, he anticipates some swearing-ins and expects that those ministers will be working. This House, particularly our side, indicated from day one that we will assist them to form their government. Because it is only when they form their government that will be able to hold their feet to the fire. But, Mr. Speaker, the question is whether they themselves are ready to form their government. Whether, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Harun Idrisu should know that we've not passed him yet. If this is going to be his approach to the minority leader, he does so at his own peril. This is a moment of humility and calmness.
But, Honourable Minority Leader, you've assured him that surely he is past.
Mr. Speaker, rightly so, but subject to good behavior. So, Mr. Speaker, this thought approach in nomination is unacceptable. Fortunately for President Mahama, on the 8th of December, he had the benefit of seeing the weather clear. He had between 8th of December and the midnight of 6th of January to have taken decisions on who would go where, who would go where. He had a whole 1 month. We are now hearing that the appointment nomination for Interior Ministry is on its way. And Honorable Muntaka, yes, that is in the media. The communication must first come to this House. Yes, it has just been delivered. And we know the content of the communication. Like we told you before. We know. Yes, but it has delayed. It has delayed. Mr. Speaker, we will not accept this thought approach. There are other matters of constitutional concern that at the appropriate time would let the nation know. But, Mr. Speaker, that aside, I believe that our democracy has come of age. It's been over 30 years 2 years ago, we celebrated 30 years of democracy with a lot of activities. Mr. Speaker, it must never be said that this country still tolerates lawlessness and violence. I was expecting my respected colleague, Dr. Forson, to have found space to introduce this subject matter at the business committee, to even propose that, colleagues, I have heard of violence here, violence there. So, as a house, we should even constitute a bipartisan committee to look into the thuggery in our nation. The majority leader has decided not to talk about this. Just last week, Thursday, the Electoral Commission was ready to finalize the Ablekuma North collation process. What did we see? Some thugs invaded the EC office, threatening lives, destroying properties. Mr. Speaker, this is unacceptable. It puts a black spot on our beautiful democracy. Maybe today it is benefiting somebody, but tomorrow the same thugs that we are encouraging them to be lawless may come back at us. Mr. Speaker, the government cannot pretend not to be aware of this. The Electoral Commission, as a constitutional body, needs protection. The police, headed by the respected IGP and his team, must do all it can to protect the EC. We are aware of the good work they have done thus far, but this is a 276-member chamber. We are 275. The Electoral Commission, in a statement, has said that it is ready to finalize, but tax are preventing it from doing its work. There can't be any more silence on this matter. I call on Mr. President to take charge and call the thuggery out. Mr. Speaker, we know that Mr. President, in his records in this House, was known to be a peace-loving Ghanaian. Mr. Speaker, indeed, his calm approach in addressing media issues was what endeared him to the heart of Ghanaians. So without doubt, I may disagree with him, but I know he's a peace-loving Ghanaian. At Jubilee House, maybe he may be too busy to read the newspapers or to watch the news. But I am taking advantage of this platform, the Chamber of Parliament, to tell Mr. President that there is violence on our streets. The thugs are destroying the gains we have made as a country, and this must end now. Issue 2, which I believe my respected colleague, the majority leader, should have found it necessary to make it part of the business committee's deliberation, is what has just happened in Obuasi.
Let me get you clear.
Yes.
The first issue that you raised, you don't expect the majority leader to put it in the business statement.
What, Mr. Speaker, what I have just said, on point 1, I said I have 2 issues. Issue 1, I was expecting the majority leader to have included the matter in the business committee's deliberations for us to consider, so that at least a bipartisan parliamentary committee could be established after deliberations on the matter to get into this thuggery, these attacks. So that is issue 1. Issue 2, and again, I was expecting him to have also included, that is the Obuasi incidents. Mr. Speaker, I know, as politicians, Sometimes on the campaign platforms, out of enthusiasm, based on the expectation of the people, we slip here and there. But once you win and you are in charge, you need to call people to order. Mr. Speaker, this country can only survive when the business community has confidence in our country. Anglo Gold Ashanti is listed on the International Stock Exchange. It is a major investment. Anglo Gold Ashanti was shut down for years, and it took quiet diplomacy and engagement to get an investor to invest in Anglo Gold Ashanti. They contribute to our economic growth in this country. What has happened there is very unacceptable. We should not encourage it. It is unfortunate that able-bodied young men have lost their lives. It's unfortunate. Young men who could otherwise be productive for society have lost their lives. It shouldn't be happening. Mr. Speaker, we as a House expected the Honorable Majority Leader to have brought this matter up to the Business Committee. Just the President can make his orders, but this is the people's representative, Dr. Kasiel. Dr. Kasiel Atuba Forsen, my respected Majority Leader, Leader of Government Business. Today is your first time of being at the dispatch box to read business statement. And this is a national issue. The people of Obuasi, your own friend Kweku Kwati, his people are suffering. There's lawlessness in his backyard. It couldn't have been that you of all will forget it and not even table it for discussion. That is my concern. Although you are on your way to the Ministry of Finance, but do something for the records. Do something for the records. Mr. Speaker, it is unacceptable. All the killings, all the lawlessness, Mr. Speaker, this country, all of us, all of us, all of us. Mr. Speaker, they're killing my staff. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, violence must stop. The violence must stop. Honourable members, the violence must stop. Honourable members, order. The violence must stop. Stop killing your own party people. The violence must stop. Honourable members, the violence must stop. Honourable members, order. Stop. Honourable members, order. Mr. Speaker, on that note, Honourable Minority Leader, please conclude. Very well. Mr. Speaker, I shall be grateful for just one more minute to conclude. I thank you, nevertheless, for this treasure space to bring this national issue to the fore. I entertain no doubt that my respected colleague, the Majority Leader, will take this matter up and ensure that the right thing is done to assure all Ghanaians. That notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, this is just a teaser. We would come formally, if no action is taken, we would come formally invoke all the parliamentary tools available at our disposal, available to us, to ensure that if the government does not act, and we don't want any empty action. We don't want empty action. We want a comprehensive action that people would have confidence in. This parliament will have to constitute a committee to immediately visit Obuasi to get into this matter and ensure that the business community gets the assurances. Yes, that the business community get the assurance that this parliament stands with them, that the business community is safe to do business, and all other places that there is violence, government must take steps to stop the violence and allow people to freely do their work. Mr. Speaker, I thank you and I rest my case.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this morning the Business Committee met. The Honorable Minority Leader was absent. He did not attend. Mr. Speaker, he did not attend the Business Committee meeting. And he did not attend the Business Committee meeting.
Honorable members, order. Honorable members, order. Let's have some order. Honorable members, order. Honorable Chief Whip, you don't have the floor. Honorable Minority Chief Whip. Honorable Minority Chief Whip, you don't have the floor.
No, you don't have the floor.
You don't have the floor. Honorable minority members, order. Order. Honorable minority members, order.
Mr. Speaker, he was visibly absent, visibly missing. The Honorable Chief Whip, the Minority Chief Whip, was present though. But Mr. Speaker, the Chief Whip who represented the caucus also failed to table anything for us to discuss. Mr. Speaker, he failed to table anything as such for us to discuss. And you've turned around to accuse me. Mr. Speaker, I recognize that these are tools that the minority leader can use to address issues of national concern. Mr. Speaker, I recognize that. Mr. Speaker, let me put on record that we in the NDC does not subscribe to violence. We don't. And let no one create an impression. Let no one create an impression. Let no one create an impression that there is an upsurge of political violence in the Republic of Ghana. That is not the truth. Mr. Speaker, what happened at Obuasi is most regrettable. It's most regrettable. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President, President John investigation. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President immediately ordered for an immediate full-scale investigation into the killings of 9 small-scale miners. Mr. Speaker, it is obvious that the government is already in motion. It is obvious that the government has already acted. And so, Mr. Speaker, I will take the matter up with my colleague. I will take the matter up with my colleague. But I urge him, the Speaker, I urge him to attend
Let's have some order.
business committee meetings. I urge him to attend business committee meetings. The Speaker, I was at a business committee meeting. We finished the meeting and I went to the appointment committee meeting. So don't say that you were at the appointment committee meeting. You weren't there. The Speaker, next time, let him attend to the business committee meeting so that together, we can find solutions to national issues. We are here to work for the public, for the Republic of Ghana. Let's work together. And I can assure you, as long as I remain your leader, I will work with you. I will work with you. And together, we can find a better way to resolve issues of national importance. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the business statement is quite brief. And so I urge you that we should adopt the business statement for today for us to make progress. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable
No business.
Honourable members, order. Honourable members, order. Honourable members, order. Honourable members, I would engage the two leaders of the House, Honorable Stephen Amwa. Honourable members, I would engage the leadership of the House, particularly the minority leader and the majority leader, so that we can effectively resolve the issue. Honourable members, the business statement as presented is hereby adopted. Honourable Majority Leader, any indication?
Mr. Speaker, we agreed that we will be suspending for 20 minutes and we will immediately reconvene into a closed sitting. But prior to that, we will lay reports and then before we go into the closed sitting. No, joint caucus meeting, so that we can have a joint caucus meeting before we come back and conclude. Mr. Speaker, hopefully the joint caucus meeting will not last for more than 20 minutes. And so we urge that we stick to our time. Thank you.
So, Honourable Majority Leader, are we laying the reports before we move to the joint caucus meeting? Honourable Minority Leader. Honourable Majority Leader. Well, I recognize Honourable Minority Leader. Minority Leader, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, at the pre-sitting, the understanding was we'll proceed with the joint caucus. When we're done and we're back, we proceed with the other matters. So, Mr. Speaker, that's the understanding. And we'll go with that. Thank you.
Honourable members, I suggest that we lay the report for distribution to members, and thereafter we can do the joint caucus and then come back.
Mr. Speaker, we had. Oh, you want to vote? Okay. Vote on what? Mr. Speaker, we had an understanding. Let's go by, Mr. Speaker, let's go by the majority leader's discussion. Let's go by what
Minority leader, you know the rules of the House. Just address the chair.
Mr. Speaker, the respected leader of government business and leader of the House has suggested that we go into a joint caucus, and upon return, we proceed with other business. That was not the understanding. No. Mr. Speaker, we had an understanding. Let's go into joint caucus. When we come back, the laying will be done. If some orders would have to be suspended for the matter to be taken, we are going to cooperate with you, of course, subject to good behavior.
Honourable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Right Honourable Speaker, as earlier indicated, it is time for us to move to a joint caucus meeting, so I urge you to suspend so that we can move into joint caucus meeting. Thank you.
So, honourable members, sitting is accordingly suspended.